Democratic socialist candidates are gaining traction across the country, prompting questions from both Democrats and Republicans alike. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle appear wary of the more progressive faction of the Democratic Party and its growing popularity. Just last night, we saw Abdul El-Sayed overcome a 10-to-1 fundraising deficit in the Michigan Democratic primary, sending him to the state's midterm election. So what is it about this message that appears to be resonating? Joining me now is David Sirota. He is the founder and editor-in-chief of The Lever. Good to have you here. So we've seen this rise in popularity, including these 2 wins in Michigan last night. So what's driving this support?
With the affordability crisis, the economic crisis, I think voters connecting what they perceive to be a corruption crisis with the affordability crisis. And so all of that, I think, is adding a lot of salience to populist candidates who are focusing their message on corporate power. What you saw here in Michigan was a candidate running on getting money out of politics, passing Medicare for all and putting more money in people's pockets. I mean, that was basically his campaign theme. And I think that resonated deeply across this state, a state like many states that has been really facing, again, an affordability crisis. So I think underneath a lot of this is the economic anxiety. Now, obviously, one other factor at play here in this race, I think, was the whole situation in Israel, the genocide in Gaza, Abdul El-Sayed campaigning very, very strongly against U.S. aid, continued U.S. aid to Israel as Israel takes military action in this genocide situation. So I think that was also part of what happened here in Michigan.
Is it more about the movement or more about the person? And how do you think that somebody like Abdul El-Sayed will fare in a general where we've seen Democratic socialist candidates succeed, but more on a city level?
Well, I think Abdul El-Sayed does not, as far as I know, affiliate with DSA, does not call himself a democratic socialist. But I think what we really have to understand this as is what I call it as a populist movement. I mean, some people affiliate with DSA explicitly. Other candidates are sort of echoing a message of economic populism. And to be specific about that, it's a message that says corporate power, oligarchy, and the billionaire class has too much power and is driving all of the lived crises that people are facing. So I think that when you look across all of these different races, that is the through line. The through line isn't necessarily one label or the other. The through line is centering the corruption situation with the economic crisis, with the oligarchy crisis.
You mentioned populist. I mean, look, we've seen how the Republican Party has changed since Donald Trump, and he has really remade the party with now so-called MAGA Republicans. Was it sort of just a matter of time before we saw something on the Democratic wing? Do you think that this is more of a reaction to what happened between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris and Democrats needing to rebrand?
Look, I think that's right, the right question to ask. And I think that after the financial crisis, during and after the financial crisis, there was a lot of Republican angst under the Obama administration amid bank bailouts and the like. And that angst became the Tea Party, ultimately became MAGA. Ultimately, Donald Trump used the backlash conditions after the financial crisis to get elected president. I think now you're seeing a similar dynamic on the Democratic side, where there is angst with the party, the Democratic Party's leadership among liberal and Democratic voters, and there is a demand for real change, not just change to the political system generally, but a change to the Democratic Party in specific. So you're seeing the Democratic Party establishment lose some of its power to decide and determine primary outcomes. The Democratic Party establishment has really dominated those primaries for decades. And this is the first time I can remember where the anti-establishment candidates are winning more consistently. So I do think ultimately you are seeing an outside movement creating new changes inside the party. Is it the same as the Tea Party and MAGA? I don't think so. I think there's different dynamics in both parties. But it is the same idea of there's an outside pressure system that is now changing the internal dynamics of the Democratic Party.
David Sirota, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.